April 14th, 2020 regular meeting of the Board of Education. I would like to welcome everyone that is here for the Zoom board meeting from the administration along with the board members, as well as those that are watching the live stream. As posted in the agenda, we are meeting remotely due to the governor's executive order, which prohibits all public gatherings of any number of people until after April 30th, 2020. If you would like to make a public comment to be read out loud during citizens' comment, please use the link provided in the agenda to enter your comment. All comments submitted will be read out loud by board members, and we will adhere to the 3-minute limit for each comment. And the link will remain active until all citizens' comments have been read out loud during the citizens' comment section. At this point, I would like to have the secretary do a roll call for attendance.
Yes, the first is Berninsky.
Here, and I would like to say hi to all my fellow board members, and I miss you.
Next is Brooks, myself. Thanks for everybody joining this meeting. Next is Kehoe, member Kehoe.
Present. Patrick Kehoe, present. Thanks for everybody joining us tonight.
Member Lozarowitz.
John Lozarowitz is here. Thank you. Thank you everyone for showing up.
Member McCoy.
Hi, Patty McCoy here. Thank you so much. Anybody who's watching out there, I miss everybody. I miss being outside.
And member Sadhu.
Present, thank you. And member Savage is not able to attend, so he is absent today. At this point, Ms. Merritt, would you like to introduce your staff who are attending and participating in our virtual meeting today?
Good evening, thank you and welcome. I appreciate everyone's flexibility as we work through our first virtual meeting. I'd like to begin by introducing my assistant, Ms. Diane Robertson, and thank her for helping to prepare us for this meeting. I would like the remainder of the staff members to introduce themselves to you, beginning with Mr. Brandon.
Good evening, Nick Brandon, Executive Director of Communications and Marketing, and good to see everybody virtually tonight.
Hi, I'm Debbie Piaz. I'm the Chief Finance and Operations Officer. Welcome.
Good evening, Liz Vartanian-Gibbs, Human Resources.
Good evening and welcome, Kurt Tiskowitz, Executive Director of Student Services.
Good evening and welcome, Beth Rail, Chief Academic Officer.
Good evening and welcome, Heather Fitzpatrick, President, Education Association.
Okay, I believe we got everyone. All right, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. We are now moving on to part A for our agenda. I'm looking for a motion for the adoption of the agenda, approval of the consent agenda.
Madam President, I would like to make a motion to adopt the agenda and approve of the consent agenda, action item 20-4-45.
Thank you. Motion was made by member Brooks.
I second it.
Thank you. Motion was seconded by member Lozarowitz. And Ms. Merritt, would you please walk us through the consent agenda?
Yes, this evening our consent agenda consists of human resources transactions since our last time together. We have leaves and retirements for your consideration. We have tenure recommendations, the approval of minutes from our regular meeting on March 10th, 2020. We have final readings of bylaw 0100 definitions, bylaw 0167.2 closed session, policy 2210 curriculum development, policy 5200 attendance, policy 8400 school safety information. Also, the following action items are here for your consideration: the resolution to temporarily suspend board policies, the resolution to approve the P-CCS Emergency Operations Plan, the resolution to approve purchase of the district firewall, the resolution to purchase Salem High School Media Center furniture, the resolution to purchase 14 buses from the 2015 and 2019 bond funds, and finally, the resolution to award district fiber maintenance service contract.
Thank you. Any questions? All right. Member Berninski, do you have a question?
Just about procedures.
Yes.
Are we raising our hands prior to making motions?
Yes, that was the plan. So if you would like to make a motion, please raise your hand by clicking the raise hand button and I will call on you. And then the voting will take place with a roll call vote. Member Kehoe?
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to let everybody know that might be watching this at home. This is a little bit different process for some of these action items. All of these action items that we're reviewing here this evening have been formally vetted through the respective committees, and they've had a significant discussion there. So they're on the consent agenda this evening in order to facilitate this virtual process, but these things have all been reviewed and discussed in the committee process.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that, Member Kehoe. All right, any other questions, comments? Okay, at this point, we will do a roll call vote. And Secretary Brooks, would you please read out the names, and everyone should respond with yes or no to support this motion.
Member Berninski,
Yes.
Member Brooks, yes. Member Kehoe,
Yes.
Member Lazarowitz,
Yes.
Member McCoy,
Yes.
and Member Sadoo.
Yes. Thank you. Motion passes 6-0 for action item number 20-04-45.
Good evening, everyone. I have the honor of congratulating 3 of our teachers in our district who have submitted for retirement at the end of the school year. The first teacher is Mary Hallowitz, who has taught in our district for over 18 years. She is an elementary teacher at Workman Elementary School, and she will be retiring at the end of the school year. Next, we have Nan Hansen, a counselor at Plymouth High School with over 33 years of experience, and she will be retiring at the end of the school year. I also would like to congratulate Frank Pavia. He is at Plymouth High School as an engineering technology teacher with over 30 years in the district. So thank you to all of our teachers and congratulations on your upcoming retirement. Next, I have 2 tenure recommendations to share this evening. Jessica Austed, music teacher at Dotson School, as well as Shannon Way, media specialist at Bentley School. Both of these teachers have completed 5 years of teaching here in our district. They were 5 probationary years, and now they are ready to receive tenure this evening. This is a very exciting part of their career, and it's an honor to get to the place where you are receiving tenure. So first, I would like to talk a little bit about Jessica Austed, who is the music teacher at Dotson Elementary School. Here's what Dr. Quazzarano has to say about Jessie. Jessie Austed is a fantastic music educator. She goes above and beyond to contribute to the overall Dotson building culture. She installs the love of learning with her music education. She chooses a song of the month to help inspire students to become better overall citizens. Thank you for your time and your dedication to students. So congratulations to Jessie Austed, music teacher here in our district. Next, we have Shannon Way, our media specialist at Bentley Elementary School. And this is what Jan Douglas wrote about Shannon Way. It is with great pleasure that I recommend Shannon Way for tenure. Shannon is an exemplary educator who leverages her role as Bentley Media Specialist to comprehensively support the entire Bentley community. Mrs. Way is a visionary teacher leader who provides a creative, collaborative approach to executing the Bentley School mission. At this challenging time of K-12 closure, Mrs. Way has partnered with staff to exemplify a whole new level of collegiality. She personifies innovation as she works to provide customized assistance to teachers so that they can best support at-home learning opportunities for students. Shannon Way is a valuable member of Team Bentley, and I am confident that our school community will continue to thrive as a result of her endless contributions. So congratulations, Shannon Way, on receiving tenure this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. We are now moving on to Part B, Board Committee Reports Action Report, or action items, and I will start with the President's report. First, I would like to express my sincere condolences to the families that have been impacted by COVID-19. This pandemic has caused a lot of hardship, sadness, uncertainty, and anxiety for our families. I know many families have had to make some adjustments in a very short period of time. Some are dealing with loss, some are dealing with health challenges. People close to me have been impacted, and it's really difficult to wrap your head around what's happening during this crisis and this pandemic. But we have to stick together and support each other, and I am very proud and grateful for our community in how they've managed to come together to support each other. Please continue to take the necessary precautions to protect yourself, your loved ones, and everyone around you. I want to thank the community members that have stepped up to support each other in various ways, including buying and making masks, donating, helping our first responders, and many other kind gestures. It gives me great hope that our community is united to protect and support one another. I would like to thank our families for their flexibility as we continue to evolve and adjust to ongoing changes and mandates. I also want to thank Superintendent Merritt and the staff for continuing to make meals available for our families every week. I have seen the numbers and the pictures, and I am grateful for everyone that has been involved in this process. Thank you for keeping our families protected, fed, and safe. Lastly, I want to express my gratitude to everyone that came together to help us pass the bond to help continue to move P-CCS forward. We were not able to celebrate the success of this big accomplishment because the threat of the coronavirus had started to spread in Michigan immediately following the election, and we had to divert our energy to making sure that our members were safe and protected. Many thanks to the hundreds of staff and volunteers that were involved and our entire community for their continuing effort to invest in our students and our community school district. So thank you for everything that you've done. This month has been, I know, with lots of ups and downs, but I am so proud and grateful for the great community that we have. So thanks for this opportunity. And at this time, we'll move to item 2, the Student Performance and Achievement Committee report. It's hard to believe so much has changed in a month, and I'm still trying to figure out what happened in beginning of March in our meeting. We did go through quite a few curriculum review items for the textbook purchasing, which you're going to see a little bit later. And Beth, Real, could you help me out with some of the other agenda items that we had for our March meeting?
Absolutely. So you'll see most of them tonight. One was the Spanish 6, which we'll talk about later, the textbook or curriculum purchases for middle school and high school social studies, as well as purchases for high school physics and honors physics. So those are the primary ones that we talked about. And then that's kind of the bulk of thinking backward to that time.
Yes, thank you. And I appreciate everyone that was at the SPA committee to review the materials, and the committee, everyone involved had done a great job with vetting the resources that are up for purchase today. Our next meeting is going to be virtual, Wednesday, May 6th at 4:30 p.m. and the information and the link will be posted on our website. Next up is Member McCoyne with the Policy Committee update.
We have not met. Since the last meeting, we canceled our March meeting because school was closed and we were trying to figure out a way to have any kind of virtual meeting. Happily for us, Member Kehoe tried out a virtual meeting with the finance and operations and it went great for him. So I'm hopeful that ours will also be great. It will be 5:30 next Tuesday. It will be virtual. And again, the link and the information will be posted on the website. So it'd be great if you can come tune in.
Thank you. Next up is Finance and Operations. Member Kehoe.
So once we actually got a shout out from the policy committee for how great the F&O committee meeting is, and I want that meeting to be marked down because this rarely happens because policy is pretty cool. Anyway, we had our first virtual finance and operations meeting on Thursday, April 2nd, where we reviewed the bus purchases and the furniture purchases. We also reviewed the resolution to authorize the school building and site bond, which we'll be talking about here this evening, as well as reviewed the information that we're going to do on the community forum for the budget presentation, all the fantastic suggestions that we got from the community to support that. It was a good meeting. It went really well. We had a really lively and good discussion, and I think the team really adapted well to the virtual setting. We had fantastic participation from our other stakeholders and our architects and construction managers, from our folks for finance and the bond process. So I think that we'll have those same people here this evening if other questions come up. Our next meeting is coming up on Thursday, April 23rd at 5 p.m. It will also be a virtual meeting, and we encourage people to attend virtually if you want to see what happens at the F&O meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We are now moving on to Part C, Citizens' Comments. And I'm just going to scoot my laptop over for a minute and look at the other screen where the comments are being submitted electronically, and we will take turns reading these out loud. So I will read the first one that has come in, and this is from Heather Fitzpatrick. And I'm going to start reading, and could you start the timer, please? Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to speak to you this evening. My name is Heather Fitzpatrick, and I am the president of the Plymouth Canton Education Association. I wanted to take a moment to recognize the incredible efforts of our teachers that have made over the past month. Everything about how they do their jobs has drastically changed. Our teachers have put in countless hours learning new technologies, experimenting with new software, researching appropriate methods for remote instruction, attending voluntary webinars, replying to student and family concerns, and much, much more. They have driven around neighborhoods and made various videos showing just how much they are thinking about and missing their students in classrooms. But these educators are professionals, and they are committed to their students and want the very best for them. I would also like to recognize the incredible collaborative spirit the administration has shown during these trying times. We are all working together to do what is best for our students. We really appreciate weekly HR meetings. We love Monica's enthusiasm in her Friday calls. We would especially like to commend the teaching and learning team, and especially Beth Rail, for her outstanding collaboration that they have had with our teacher leader teams. Beth recognizes these teachers are the experts and are the ones in the front lines. She has made them feel heard and appreciated, and for that, I am very grateful. We look forward to continuing this collaboration as we work through the inevitable changes that still lie ahead. Thank you all again.
All right, and I have a citizen's comment from Gina Tybo. It says, first, I want to thank the board administration for all of their work these past few weeks. I know that things are still being worked out with regards to online learning, but is there a way to ask the teachers and staff to stop emailing students until the details are finalized? I understand teachers are also doing their best during this time, but it is extremely confusing to both parents and students what is required and what counts for a grade. There are teachers currently sending out emails that assignments must be completed now and that is for a grade. I don't believe that has yet been established. Once a decision has been made, I hope that a policy decision is in place that all teachers follow the same guidelines and that communication on how online learning and grading comes in written format directly from the administration, so there is no confusion on both the parents, students, and teachers' part. Thank you.
Thank you. Nick, are there any other citizens' comments?
Or not?
Okay. Thank you. We will move on to Part D, Administrative Reports and Recommendations, starting with the Superintendent's report.
Now I'm unmuted. I will be the first to make a mistake in this virtual meeting. Thank you for your patience. I want to begin by sharing some sad news in our district today. One of P-CCS's own, Miss Marcia Payne, has passed away on April 9th, 2020. Marcia was a library media specialist at Gallimore Elementary for more than 20 years before moving to Salem High School in 2015. She passed away due to ongoing health problems. We are so grateful for the many lives that she's touched and for the love of reading that she has instilled in so many young minds in P-CCS. Please keep Marcia's family in your thoughts. Her children, Amber, Jessica, and Jordan, are all proud Salem High School graduates. In this time of great challenge, I really want to echo what President Sadhu had said about us issuing a thank you for our bond 2020. We want to say thank you to our P-CCS community for making the 2020 bond a reality for our students, staff, and families. We vow to our community to be good stewards of the resources that you have generously given, and we look forward to the process moving forward in the coming days and weeks, and even this evening, where we'll spend some time later talking about some of the planning for the 2020 bond. On behalf of our students, thank you, thank you, thank you for your continued support of P-CCS. Finally, I'd like to offer a heartfelt thank you to our healthcare workers, first responders, grocery store workers, mail and delivery service providers, bus drivers, sanitation workers, and all that are making sacrifices daily as essential workers to ensure our basic needs are met while the state works to support, while we work to support the state's stay home, stay safe order. I want to especially thank our own essential workers here in P-CCS, including our district and building administrators, our non-affiliated support staff, our plant engineers, security team, licensed techs, maintenance, and secretaries who have been available when requested to work on site to ensure we're able to provide resources and plans for learning, to pay our bills, to keep our buildings clean and safe and functioning and secure, and to help us to continue to the important work of supporting our teachers so that learning continues for students. I want to thank our amazing food services, our nutrition services department, our staff volunteers that have distributed over 100,000 meals in 3 weeks to our families in need of this support. Our technology department, I want to thank them for the work that they've put into getting devices and internet access in the hands of our students and our staff. We've really set the bar high there. I appreciate their work. I want to thank our teachers for their flexibility and their adaptability as we're requiring them to teach a new way without much time for preparation and planning. And although some might think because we are a one-to-one district, it should be easy to move right into distance learning, I want to be clear tonight that we are in emergency remote learning mode. It is one thing to supplement face-to-face learning with digital tools and resources in a one-to-one environment, but it's an entirely different process to move the entire curriculum into a remote environment, especially when asked to do so overnight. Our teachers and staff left school on Friday, March 13th, unaware that the school year in terms of face-to-face learning was ending for them and that they would never see the faces of their students again. And we're now asking them to provide new teaching experiences and cover important areas of the curriculum to prepare students to transition to the next grade level without a lot of training. I commend them for their effort. I want to let our teachers know how much we appreciate you And we know we will all make mistakes along the way, but we are doing the best we can for our students, and I thank you. To our seniors, precious class of 2020, our heart breaks for you, but we have not forgotten you. Our high school staff is working hard to ensure that we are able to provide a prom, honors convocation, graduation ceremony, even a senior party for you once this order has been lifted and we are able to gather again in large groups. You have earned the honor of being celebrated, and we are committed to making that happen as long as it is within our ability to do so, regardless of how late in the calendar this might be. We are committed to doing this for you. Please be patient. More information will follow. Thank you to our entire P-CCS community. If this pandemic hasn't taught us anything else, it has definitely revealed that we are P-CCS strong and able to work through any challenge together. Tonight, I do want to bring some clarity about the continuity of learning and our COVID-19 response plans. These are plans that all schools have been directed to complete by the governor through Executive Order 2020-35. The continuity of learning plan must be approved by the local intermediate school district, for us that's Wayne-Risa, and be fully implemented according to the executive order by April 28, 2020. In P-CCS, if approved, we plan to implement our plan beginning on Monday, April 20th. We began our home learning plan on Monday, March 16th, when the governor initially announced the mandatory school closing. Phase 1 involved just sharing family engagement resources in the first week of the mandated school closure. We moved immediately into phase 2, which began shortly after, following some updated guidance from the Michigan Department of Education and the United States Department of Education. We began during phase 2 to have our teachers engage with students as long as they ensured that any instruction was clearly messaged as non-mandatory and not graded. This was the beginning of teacher engagement and included the addition of social emotional learning components and resources for our families. We also began at that time the process of surveying our community to make sure that everyone had access to the internet and devices to remove that barrier to remote learning and ensure equity to all extents possible. Additionally, we shared some sample schedules for families to support home learning. We know that this is a challenge for many. Phase 3 began the week before spring break, and we will continue with phase 3 through April 17th, leading into the continuity of learning plan. The expectation for teacher engagement has increased during this phase. Teachers were required to begin checking in with students and provide learning experiences that were not mandatory or graded. As we received further guidance from the governor's office and MDE, we began providing professional development to staff to move forward with a robust emergency remote instruction plan. We continue to share supplemental resources and materials and grade level packets on the Home Learning Hub to supplement teacher instruction. We also continued our work to provide internet access and devices to staff and students, and began distributing additional paper packets as assignments to ensure that all students had access. Now to the continuity of learning plan. This is the final phase, and pending approval, once again from RISA, this week will be fully implemented on Monday, April 20th. The full implementation of the continuity of learning plan shifts teachers from enrichment to instruction. Teachers will use a variety of tools to provide learning experiences for students, just as they would in a regular classroom, however, using remote and digital tools at their disposal. To be clear, however, this is emergency remote learning, and it cannot replace the full extent of what would happen in our classrooms with our highly qualified teachers in an online course that educators have been taking months to design. Teachers have been working to identify the essential skills students need from now until the end of the year in their content area PLCs and/or grade levels, along with creating learning experiences to support these essential skills. And we will be engaging with students around these learning experiences. Teachers will have scheduled office hours each week, in addition to the instruction they provide through both synchronous, which is real time, and asynchronous methods. And finally, in order to ensure access for all students, teachers will deliver content in multiple ways, ranging again from synchronous to asynchronous online experiences for those with full digital access to providing learning packets for families who do not have the privilege of access to the internet. All those students will not be penalized if they are unable to fully participate in the learning opportunities. P-CCS believes that monitoring student learning for support and growth is essential. For this reason, teachers will use a variety of tools to monitor student wellness, engagement, and completion of assignments. At all levels, teachers will record progress and provide feedback to families. More specific details about student progress and grading will be forthcoming from building administrators to families once our plan is approved. In addition to academic support, we are working on providing additional tools and resources to families for social emotional support as well. One example of this is the upcoming launch of a social emotional wellness care line, where families can contact us by phone or email to receive support from one of our district's mental health professionals. This non-emergency emotional wellness support care line will be monitored Monday through Friday from 8 o'clock to 4 p.m. Once again, the draft of our continuity of learning plan has been completed and will be submitted to Wayne Risa tomorrow for approval. Pending approval, we will begin full implementation of our plan on Monday, April 20th. Parents can expect a detailed communication regarding the details of the plan, and we will give a detailed presentation of our approved continuity of learning plan at the next board meeting. We want it to be careful not to get out too much information, once again, because this is a draft form and has not been approved, and we want to avoid any further confusion. As outlined in the executive order, face-to-face instruction has been suspended for the remainder of the school year, but the school building is open for essential services to support our continuity of learning plan, as well as our food distribution, which will begin again this Wednesday, that's tomorrow, and our device distribution programs. As long as we fulfill the requirements of the executive order, we can expect to receive our full state aid. This will allow us to pay all of our staff members for hours and days they would have been expected to work in face-to-face school instruction if that was in session. I appreciate Ms. Fitzpatrick. We are definitely working with our union leadership to support all of our employees as we transition to this remote working environment. We want to honor all collective bargaining agreements at this time. If an employee is asked to report on site, we have a screening practice that is in place before they report to work. Sites are cleaned and sanitized on a regular basis. We're providing protection equipment, and we are having proper health screening process that's in place for those that are working on site, including thermometers for use if necessary. It is our goal to keep everyone safe. These are unprecedented, challenging times for all of us. And I know that there is a lot of frustration and confusion around our plans, and for that I apologize. But I continue to ask for your patience as we get this right for our students, because unfortunately, we don't get another opportunity for a do-over for the 2019-20 school year. I want to just leave you tonight saying I am so incredibly proud and thankful for our staff and our entire P-CCS community. We have come together and we have taken care of each other, and we will continue, I am confident, to be P-CCS strong. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Merritt. I appreciate the details that you just outlined, and thank you for the opportunity that you had given the board to look at the continuity of learning plan as part of the process of getting input. I also appreciate all of the measures that you and the staff are taking to make sure people that enter our buildings are safe and protected. That is a huge priority for us, so thank you for your efforts on that. At this point, we are moving on to finance and operations. And before we have Debbie go through the details, let's get a motion on the table and then we'll go through a discussion. Member Kehoe?
Madam President, I move that we consider the resolution for authorizing the 2020 school building and site bond, action item 20-0446. This would be a first and final reading.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Motion was made by Member Kehoe and seconded by Member Brooks. Okay, Ms. Piaz, would you like to walk us through some of the
Sure.
details and open it up for discussion?
Thank you very much. So on March the 10th, 2020, the qualified electors of the school district of Plymouth Canton Community Schools approved the issuance of bonds in one or more series and not to exceed $275 million. We celebrated for about 2 hours, and then unfortunately events have changed our lives to the date. This resolution was discussed in the F&O meeting on April the 2nd, as noted earlier. And whereas the board now desires to authorize the first series in this authorization, not to exceed about $100 million, then all the language of the resolution is very prescribed. There's a series of exhibits as well in that resolution. And on the call, I believe I have Paul Stoddard, who's with the firm of PFM, and they are our financial advisors of the school district. And I asked Paul to make some comments on this resolution, as well as on the parameters that we have agreed to on a going forward basis as we move to the sale of this first series. Paul?
Paul, you're on mute.
Nick, do you have to do something to get him audio?
It might be on your computer there, Paul, because it's
not on mute. Yeah, he's unmuted.
he's unmuted on the Zoom, but he is, whatever his computer is or his device is, that might still be on mute because we're not hearing him. Yeah, we can't hear you.
Yeah. All right, well, I'll talk for him. The parameters, that letter that he wrote to our bond counsel for this resolution was dated March the 17th. It had a various amounts of details attached to it. This will be a 20-year series from 2021 through 2040. The date of delivery will be determined by the competitive bond sale that we are anticipating. Given market conditions currently, this resolution gives us the flexibility to not accept those in a competitive environment if those are not to our liking or to our benefit, and allows us to do either a negotiated sale or a private placement should the market conditions warrant that, under his advice and consultation. Gives the superintendent of schools, Monica Merritt, the opportunity to do that if on the date of sale it's not advantageous to the school district. We have gone through the parameters, we've gone through the assumptions contained therein, and we support this resolution and moving forward to a bond sale with a tentative timeline that after tonight we'll proceed to create a preliminary official statement, do a ratings call with probably Moody's, who's been our rating agency of late. And then we'll move forward to a bond sale about May 28th with a closing date about June 18th. So that's the details that Paul was going to present, and he'll let me know if I've done anything or said anything incorrectly. But if you want to ask us questions, I'll certainly get us answers to those.
Okay, if any of the members have a question, could you please click on the raise hand button and you'll be called on to speak. Okay, Member Kehoe?
Yeah, I just wanted to let the people that may be watching this at home know that we had an extensive discussion on this, and we had a lot of conversations around making sure that the process that we did in this bond would allow us to still keep to the 4.02 mils, that the way that this resolution has been written, we allow the administration and that the sale of these bonds to make sure that we can adjust either the amount or the timing of these things in order to make sure that the millage rate is kept to that rate. We don't anticipate any changes in that, but given these uncertain economic times, that is a promise that we fully intend to be able to keep, and that we've got that that flexibility with the way that we've driving this first sale.
Thank you for that update. Any other questions, comments from board members? Oh, I'm sorry. Debbie?
Yeah, Mr. Stoddard is now on the phone. So did you want to make any other comments, Mr. Stoddard?
Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Yeah, the resolution allows you to enter the market with a competitive sale of the bonds. We have other options in the event that circumstances in the market are not favorable for us. Totally expect to stay within the millage constraints that we have projected all along. Market has settled significantly since the beginning of the COVID-19 issues. So we're not expecting any issues moving forward. And the resolution gives us flexibility, but we're at this point expecting to stick with the original plan.
Thank you for that. And a lot of questions from the board members were submitted and discussed at F&O. So I appreciate Member Kehoe and everyone on that team to go through the questions and make sure that we are doing the best with the situation and making sure we're making the right decisions moving forward. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, we will do a roll call vote. Member Brooks, could you please start?
Yes, yes. Member Berninski,
Yes.
Member Brooks, yes. Member Kehoe,
Yes.
Member Lazarowitz,
Yes.
Member McCoy,
Yes.
and Member Sadoo.
Yes. Motion passes 6-0 for action item number 20-04-46, resolution authorizing 2020 school building and site bond, first and final reading. All right, next we are moving into item 3 under part D, teaching and learning. And again, we'll do make a motion. Someone would make a motion for action item number 20-04-47 before we go into the discussion. Member Borninski.
Madam President, I move that the board approve action item 20-04-47, resolution to adopt high school course Spanish 6, first and final reading.
Motion was made by Member Borninski, seconded by Member Brooks. And Beth, would you like to walk us through that?
Certainly. So the resolution for tonight's for your look at tonight is thinking about adding an additional course to our high school curriculum. Currently, students who begin taking Spanish in 7th grade top out at 11th grade with AP Spanish. So the request is to add an additional high school course that is a post-AP course, which would become what is known as Spanish 6. And it would be for the 12th grade year. And we'd be looking at adding this course to the course catalog beginning in 2020, 2021, 2022 to allow for a year of development of the course.
Thank you for that update. And again, this was discussed in a lot of bit detailed in our last SPA meeting. I applaud the forward thinking of making sure that the needs of our students are met, knowing that there was a demand to move further with learning Spanish beyond what the high school was offering currently. So thank you for making those adjustments for the students that wanted to continue moving ahead. Any questions, discussions at this point? Member Kehoe.
see that we're currently offering the independent study class. I assume that we'll continue to offer that next year to support those juniors that are now in AP Spanish.
That is correct.
Excellent, thank you.
Member Borninski?
Yes, I just wanted to say that I think this is a fabulous idea, and any opportunities we can give our students to continue their exploration of world languages and becoming, fluent in those languages is a wonderful opportunity.
Yes, thank you. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, we will do a roll call vote. Member Brooks?
Yes. Member Berninski?
Yes.
Member Brooks? Yes. Member Kehoe?
Yes.
Member Lazarowitz?
Yes.
Member McCoy?
Yes.
And Member Sadoo?
Yes. Motion passes 6-0 for action item number 20-04-47, resolution to adopt high school course Spanish 6, first and final reading. Thank you. We are now moving on to the next item for the middle school social studies curriculum resources. So I'm looking for a motion for action item number 20-04-48. Member Borninski?
Yes, Madam President, my iPad timed out, so I'm trying to bring that up. And it's not working. So I am going to make a motion as soon as I get that up. Whoops. Well, maybe I'm not. My iPad decided to do an update. Sorry.
That's okay. You can, if you'd like to make a motion, you can just say I make a motion for
Okay.
action.
All right. I can remember some of it. Some of what it is. It's action. I make a motion that the board approve action item 20-04-48, which is middle school social studies curriculum, something like that.
Yes, thank you. Motion was made by Member Borninski.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Motion seconded by Member Brooks. And again, this was discussed in quite a bit of detail at the SPA meeting. We had the opportunity to review the rubrics and the process, as well as the resources, and dig into them. So Beth, would you like to discuss that in more detail?
Certainly, and I have a lot of sympathy for you, Kate, because my computer kicked me out a few minutes ago when it decided to update too. So the joy of technology. So this resolution is the adoption of middle school social studies curriculum resources. Detailed in the resolution itself was the timeline that was done for reviewing, piloting, adopting, and implementing these new resources. It's been a 3-year process moving into next year, where we had teams review a number of different resources, pilot those resources in the classrooms, and make some recommendation. The recommendation coming from that group, which was 34 teachers representing all 5 middle schools who piloted the resources, along with 2 special education teachers and 2 EL teachers who were also engaged in the pilot. The recommendation moving forward is for 6th grade world history to purchase resources to the amount of $132,959.70. 7th grade, and that recommendation is for Pearson. 7th grade world history, again, a Pearson product for $127,129.70. Shipping costs for both of those, $18,206.26. So the total for 6th and 7th grade world history is $278,295.66. 8th grade US history, the recommendation moving forward is to purchase the product from Houghton Mifflin Harcourt to the tune of $134,312.15. Total cost of purchasing all recommended resources is $412,607.81. This includes classroom sets of textbooks, 6-year digital access to all program for all students, and all teacher training and materials.
Thank you for that update. And this is another item that we are very excited about, knowing how old our social studies curriculum materials were. And so I know it made Member Lazarowitz thrilled. It's one of the things that he had pointed out many times of how old some of the textbooks that he had seen. So again, appreciate the hard work that the teaching and learning team went through for this work. So any questions, comments for this item? Member Berninski?
Yes, I just wanted to say that I am really excited about the 6 years of digital content, because as we're seeing right now, it's really important.
Yes, excellent point. And Beth, correct me if I'm wrong, but it had quite a bit of functionality to help students with read aloud. And did it have any foreign language, like in transfer of, I'm sorry, in translating content into different languages?
Yep, so the text resources themselves offer read alouds as well as the ability to translate. There's also additional functionality, including some interactive resources and manipulatives for students as they work through the content as well, so to support.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Hearing none, we will do a roll call vote. Member Brooks?
Yes. Member Berninski?
Yes.
Member Brooks? Yes. Member Kehoe?
Yes.
Member Lazarowitz?
Yes.
Member McCoy?
Yes.
And Member Sadoo?
Yes. Motion passes 6-0 for action item number 20-04-48, resolution to purchase middle school social studies curriculum resources, first and final reading. All right, we will move on to the next action item. I'm looking for a motion for action item number 20-04-49. Member Berninski? I see your hand up.
Yes.
Okay.
I had to unmute. So, but my iPad did not time out. Madam President, I make a motion that the board approve action item 20-04-49, resolution to purchase high school social studies curriculum resources, first and final reading.
Thank you. Motion was made by Member Berninski.
Second.
Anyone? Thank you. Motion was seconded by Member Brooks. And again, Beth, could you walk us through this?
Certainly, this one, if for your review, is purchase of high school social studies textbooks and curriculum materials. The copyright dates on our current materials in many of these classes range from 10 to 22 years old. The courses we're looking at is civics. One of the high school courses that all students take is high school civics. The materials for this course are outdated, and our civics teachers participated in a pilot of materials during the 1920 school year. They reviewed 8 different resources, including open educational resources, and then piloted them in the classroom. Another course is AP World History. In the past, AP World History covered a more extensive length of history, and the current iteration of AP World History decreases the length so that the depth can become greater, and the details are in the resolution itself. But because of this major adjustment to the AP World History course, new textbooks have been published. And for this reason, our district would need to purchase new AP World History textbooks. The third of the requested resources is AP Government and Politics. And again, with updates to the AP course in the 1920 school year, helps more students prepare for and succeed upon the AP exam. College Board also clarified the course's focus as it introduced new resources to be incorporated in the class. To stay current with these resources, we're asking for new textbooks for this course. The fourth is sociology. It's a 1-semester social studies elective offered to high school students at PSEP. The current textbook that is in use has a 1990 copyright date. To ensure students are able to read and learn more current events, this course would greatly benefit from a new and updated textbook. The course textbooks and materials that are recommended for civics is a textbook called TCI Government Alive. AP World History is 1,200 updated ways of the world with sources for the AP Modern course. AP Government and Politics is AP American Democracy Now, and Sociology is high school sociology. Civics course cost would be $79,029. AP World History for one section of the course, $16,363.35. AP Government and Politics, 4 sections, for a total of $32,095.44. And Sociology for 4 sections, $26,298.21. Total cost for purchasing all textbook and teacher materials would total $153,786.
Thank you. And again, this was extensively reviewed and vetted in the Student Performance and Achievement Committee. Would anyone, oh, I see 2 hands up. I'll start with Member Kehoe.
Yeah, so in this course, there was no mention of electronic materials. Do they have them for this class?
I'm actually going to hand that over to Dr. Brady to speak to that because I know she was involved extensively in the review of this. So if Dr. Brady, if you'd like to jump in and answer that question for us, please.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. These also have online resources, Member Kehoe. So all of the items that for social studies that we're bringing to you have that online component as well.
Okay, so these all have an online component. And
They
how
do.
long is the license for the online component?
So they're all 6 years. So Ms. Hamoud, who is the curriculum coordinator for social studies, world language, she made sure that we did multi-year. We thought that that was important to do more than 1 year so that we knew we had resources long-term.
Great, thank you for clarifying.
Thank you.
Thank you. Member Borninski, I see your hand up.
Yes, Ms. Rail, for the textbooks that are for the AP classes, my understanding is that College Board sort of prescribes certain textbooks as ones that are approved by them. So we kind of had to make a change anyway, didn't we?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Okay, hearing none, let's do a roll call vote. Member Brooks?
Yes, first member Brunensky.
Yes.
Member Brooks, yes. Member Kehoe.
Yes.
Member Lazarowitz.
Yes.
Member McCoy.
Yes.
And Member Sadoo.
Yes. Motion passes 6-0 for action item number 20-04-49, resolution to purchase high school social studies curriculum resources, first and final reading. We'll move on to the next action item. I'm looking for a motion for action item number 20-04-50. Member Borninski?
Madam President, I move that the board approve action item 20-04-50, resolution to purchase high school physics curriculum resources, first
Thank
and
you.
final reading.
Thank you. Motion was made by Member Borninski,
Second.
seconded by Member Brooks. And Beth, would you like to walk us through that again? Another item.
Yep, so this item is about high school physics textbooks, and the recommended resources for this one is something called an openly licensed textbook. What that means is an open educational resource is available free of charge and can be edited, revised, remixed, repurposed, and redistributed at no cost. To help implement this course and to help implement modeling in this course, the committee recommended the adoption of the Physics First curriculum developed by the American Modeling Teachers Association. Vetting this resource demonstrated that it aligned to all 3 dimensions of the Michigan Science Standards, and it's a student-driven, research-based, openly licensed open educational resource supported by the National Science Foundation. In order to help fully implement this curriculum, we're asking that the purchase of science lab materials, consumables, and software come from various suppliers, and you'll see in the quote what those look like. 20 teachers at the cost per classroom of $8,500 for a total of $170,000, and a Chromebook cart for each classroom over and above the resources and devices that our students have, but dedicated for these specific science courses, for 1 per each high school at $12,000 a piece for a total of $48,000. Total estimated cost for our curriculum resources for physics and honors physics is $218,000.
Thank you. And I really appreciate the teaching and learning team looking at open education resources as one of the possible solutions for all of the curriculum materials that have been reviewed. Because that, again, if there are good items out there that can save us money and they are good for our kids, you actually go through that work and vet it. So thank you for all of that work. I see Member Kehoe's hand up.
Yeah, so with respect to the Chromebook cart, there's one Chromebook cart per high school, but that goes across 20 teachers.
Yep, so I'm going to ask Dr. Brady to come in and speak to that, as that was the recommendation from the team and she was a part of that work.
Again, good evening again. So the reason that we're asking for one per high school is to get us started for this year. Inside of the the resource that we've chosen, each student doesn't need their own Chromebook. So at any given time, every class doesn't need a set of 30 Chromebooks because students work in together as lab partners, or they might be working in lab groups. There might be 4 students who are working together with one Chromebook or one material. Students can also bring their own Chromebook or computer from home. They don't have to use the Chromebooks that we have. The reason that they need the technology is because they're like scientists. They need to have access to software to be able to organize their data, keep track of their of the research that they're doing, because that's what this is, that they're going to be doing some physics research inside of our new program. So they need access to be able to create charts, graphs, data analysis, those kinds of things. Each child doesn't need their own, but we don't want to penalize a student who might not be able to bring their own Chromebook. We want to make sure that teachers have access to a few Chromebooks for their classroom to bring in case there's students who don't have access or we don't have quite enough. We want to make sure that there's not a penalty for students. So
great, that makes sense. How many devices are on the Chromebook in each cart?
I believe there's 35. I don't know if Mark's in the room or not. I think there's 35. Does that sound right? I believe there's 35.
I believe that's accurate.
Okay, and then with 20 teachers, I mean, is that running, each teacher running 5 sections, every day? I'm wondering whether even this number of Chromebooks is enough. I know we've got a pretty good penetration, but from what we've seen, we're probably about only about 80% of our students actually have a one-to-one device.
So there are, that's across the 3 high schools, right? So it's 20 teachers across all the high schools.
It says 4 high schools.
Correct. There are, because we are including Starkweather, we want to make sure that students who are taking physics at Starkweather also have the access to Chromebooks. So we want to make sure. So that would be 1 at each of the ones on campus, and then as well as Starkweather. Right. At this point, we feel that that's a place for us to start. If we're running into an issue where we're feeling like we need more, I will come back to you and I will let you know that I feel like that I need more resources. But at this point, we're feeling between students who have the access to be able to bring things from their home and teachers putting them into groups. Like I said, it's not 1 per student. That's not necessary. It's 1 per lab group partners working together. That will be enough.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And to clarify, it's 32 devices per card. So
thanks, Beth.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Great question.
Can I do one more clarification? I apologize.
Yes.
20 teachers, but not all of them would be teaching physics all day long. So there are times when they might be teaching a different course. Some might be teaching physics all day long, but our science teachers do teach multiple courses. And so it's not 20 teachers all day. So typically speaking, we have about, and I'm rough estimating, we have approximately 50 sections of a course that all students at the park have to take, approximately. So if we have about 20 teachers who are going to need to teach that physics course because they teach multiple things, but we have about 50 sections across the course of a day. So just to keep that in mind.
So given that, do we have enough consumables that are part of this? Because it seems like we're doing this based upon the teachers, whereas we probably should be, some of these things should be purchased based upon the number of sections.
So there's consumables that are already part of what we have worked in. And so those consumables might have been used for geophys, but now they'll be used for physics. So some of that is the same. What you're seeing here are new items that we need to make sure that we purchase to have all of our classrooms have what they need.
Okay, so yeah,
Some
I look at the list,
of them are consumables that we as a district want to purchase, but then teachers also, the high school has its own consumable amount as well. I know that that's kind of confusing.
Yeah.
We're purchasing per teacher. So some of the things that they need, it sounds kind of strange, but when one of the science teachers at the high school was doing an example of modeling physics for us, and there's these little tiny, they're poppers, and you need them to be able to show how energy transfers, and you toss them to the ground, and different things, do different sizes, and they pop differently. And you're looking to see how the energy is dispersed. So I need to buy those for every teacher. I don't need 50 for 50 different classes. I really just need them per teacher.
I understand. So, and actually, when I look at the detailed list on the subsequent pages, it's predominantly about masses and lasers and sine wave generators, and not actually consumables. So the $8,500 is predominantly non-consumable items. They're predominantly, from what I can see, they're things that are just going to be materials.
For the most part, materials, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Thank you. Great questions, Member Kehoe, and thanks for the explanation. Other questions, comments? Okay. Hearing none, let's do a roll call vote. Member Brooks?
Member Brooks, you're muted.
Okay, Member Brzezinski?
Yes.
Member Brooks, yes. Member Kehoe?
Yes.
Member Lazowitz?
Yes.
Member McCoyne?
Yes.
And Member Sadoo?
Yes. Motion passes 6-0 for action item number 20-04-50, resolution to purchase high school physics curriculum resources, first and final reading. All right, let's move on to part E of our agenda, discussions. And first up is the presentation for the Budget Community Forum. And Member Kehoe, do you want to walk us through that?
Sure. So can we go to the next page for a second? So the process that we do for the Budget Community Forum is really to take the suggestions that the stakeholders throughout the district have provided and to summarize these things into some different areas. And it's really been fantastic collaboration that we've had from the community. We had more than 90 different suggestions that had come in a variety of different areas. And there's been some fantastic work by the finance team where they've taken and categorized these things into broad themes. We've discussed these things in depth at the F&O meeting, but we'll go through them today at kind of a high level, basically around those themes and the feedback that we have. Certainly, I'll pause after each broad section for any questions or feedback from the board members, and I may ask the administrators like Monica or other to weigh in on some of these specific topics, especially where there's areas where we already have these items on our plan. The goal here is to provide feedback to the administrations as part of their transformation and budget planning process to make sure that we as the board, as well as the community's input, is heard in for those items that go into the operating budgets that we have. One last thing I want to say is that this is an operating budget. It's not the capital budget like the bonds. So things like big capital projects, you'll hear from us that we'll talk about where those suggestions come in. Those will be generally considered as part of the bond projects, not part of our normal operating system budget process. Okay, from there, if we can go on to the first one. So the first item that we have here is for to stop spending money on athletics. The suggestion was that we could better redirect the resources into other areas in the district. This is an area where athletics actually makes a huge difference to our students, and we're feeling the pinch of that, especially right now with them not being able to participate and be able to collaborate. So as much as this is an area where we want to look at redirecting funds, athletics has already been set up as a pay-to-play process where we significantly offset the cost of athletics in order to make sure that we can direct that money to the classroom. So I don't think that we're likely to make those kinds of suggestions, and we do think it has a massive difference on students. This next item here on the restrooms and concessions is actually something that I just kind of discussed with respect to the bonds, and this is something that will come up in the bond area. Yep.
There is a question, Member Berninski has her hand up.
I was going to pause after each section. Is that okay? So after athletics and activities?
Could you just clarify that the numbers in
thank you. Great point.
After each item are not the number of
yeah,
people who said, like not the number of suggestions, like there weren't 11 suggestions about stopping spending money on athletics, right?
Yeah, thank you very much. So that's actually corresponds to the verbatim, to the raw question in the response. So if we as a board need to go back and look and see more details on this particular item, that is survey response number 11.
Okay.
So that's where that came from. You'll see it more.
Make sure everybody else understood. It's especially for people watching that.
Yep.
We didn't get 55 suggestions about the varsity soccer field.
Absolutely, and you'll actually see this on the next page where you'll see multiple lines, multiple numbers listed. That's where multiple people had responded in the same themes. So this particular one only had a single response into that theme. So great question, Member Berninski, and thank you for clarifying it. We had discussed that and I neglected to bring it forward. So with respect to the restrooms and concession facilities, that is absolutely something that we've got included in the bond. It would not be part of the operating budgets that we're doing here, but it is something that's on our plans to do as part of the bond. A suggestion on the after-school culinary program and roller skating at the elementary schools. Those are two fantastic activities that people had suggested. Ultimately, all of those activities need to go through a kind of vetting process and see how we can pull those things in. If you have interest in those things and we have enough community interest in them, then we absolutely can pull those things into the process or consider them going forward. The communications, I'll pause it at athletics and activities. Were there any other questions? Okay. So going on to communications, this is investing in the communications, and it's absolutely something that we wholeheartedly endorse, and Nick's team has been making a fantastic effort in improving the communications that we've done. An example is the great work that we did in the bond process. The next one here is around the survey for family use of outside tutoring to improve curriculum. It was actually a good suggestion, and we asked Monica and the team to consider that, as well as our communications department when they do the next community survey. It's to use that tutoring information to identify where people feel that they're not getting enough support or they need extra help, and that may help adjust our curriculum or the way we're allocating our resources. So that's something we've asked to be included in our next community survey that we do. I'll pause there. Okay, extended day. Expanding the Kids Time program to meet more community needs. Although we only have one response on this particular area, it is something that has come up often and is something we will bring up time and time again as part of the budget process. And I know that Monica and the team are looking at that, especially with the bond money that may provide additional dedicated classroom spaces and the ways that we might be able to provide more resources to support this. Member Borninski, did you have a question? You're on mute.
Thank you. I'm wondering what is limiting us on Kids Time program, because I know there's a wait list and there's a lot of demand for it, and it's convenient for families also. So is it that we don't have enough staff or we can't hire enough staff for it? Is it space? What is limiting us on that? Do we know?
Can I speak, President?
Please, Monica, yeah.
Yeah, the biggest issue, you're absolutely right, is a staffing issue. So we have guidelines in terms of the ratio of students to adults. And so we have struggled over the years making sure that we are able to meet the needs of our waiting list. We are hopeful that some increases recently under the last extended day contract. It did help us to fill some positions that had remained vacant for some time. And so definitely working to continue to make sure that we can supply the appropriate staff. And in addition, as Trustee Kehoe shared, even with space limitations in the buildings, as we look to this addition at some of our elementary schools, that would also help that process as well.
Moving on to the next section with, sorry, is there another question, Kate? You still have your hand up. There we go, thank you. With respect to facilities, building a pool at the high school, this was absolutely something part of the bond, would not be considered as part of the operating project, but we appreciate the feedback. Adding another entrance to Plymouth High School. This is around the traffic and congestion areas. It isn't a really easy thing for us to do, and it would be fairly expensive for us to consider that, but it is something as we look at paving or other things that we'll consider in that process. And then the last one here on getting rid of the lockers and making new lockers available, that they were frustrated with the quality of the lockers at Salem and that they wanted to have stronger or better lockers that were available there. And it's been an interesting situation there. We've heard a lot of feedback from the administration at the high schools that lockers are not as necessary, especially with students taking classes across multiple schools. But I think as we do look at those situations, there may be an opportunity to get different lockers to support maybe that occasional use in that process rather than completely eliminating lockers everywhere. If you look here down at, I'm sorry, questions on any of those areas? Okay, moving on to the next one with food service. This is an example, as Kate pointed out, where there's multiple people that suggested that food service was an important part of the educational process, and we wholeheartedly agree. There's no intentions whatsoever to discontinue food service, so that is not anybody that anybody in the community needs to be worried about. On the next item here for human resources. Human resources, and there's a variety of different groups, whether it be teachers, support staff, food service cafeteria staff, or extended day staff. There's areas that people are absolutely advocating for supporting increased wages for those staffs. And as an administration, as a board, we absolutely support our teachers and our employees throughout the district. When people look at this process and we go through the budgeting activity, the thing that everyone needs to keep in mind is it's about the amount of resources that we have available from the state. We are not funded at the level that the research collaborative for equitable funding is determined is necessary. And the only ways that we can really continue to provide the kinds of increases that we want to do is to make sure that our legislators in Lansing end up providing our district the funding that's necessary to support this process. This is an area that we want to continue to do, and we always delicately balance every other spending that we have, and we're one of the most efficient districts in terms of the other spending that we have so that we can make sure that we put that money in the classrooms. But the things that our community can do to help support this is to, when the Wayne Reesa millage comes up this November, this is key to have people renew that millage. That millage provides more than $6 million into funding to support our district. And although we are a donor district, that money, which means that we get less money in than our community pays, that money absolutely goes into supporting our teachers and the pay that we have to do. This would be very challenging for us to do to be able to address that without those resources. The next suggestion was with respect to around staff and combining jobs at the board office, reducing the board office and the superintendent compensation. And when we look at the compensation rates for our staff at the board office and the number of people that we have, we actually believe that we're relatively lean, especially when we compare to other districts of similar sizes. We believe that in many cases we are getting done far more with less in this process, and that for the size of our organization and the amount of responsibilities that our teams have, they're fairly compensated as part of this process. Going on to the next section here around maintenance and custodial, canceling the GRBS contract and returning to unionized custodial staff. Unfortunately, this is one of those situations where the rate of funding has impacted us in this process. The The nature of this is not just a function of whether we can insource or outsource this work. It's also a function of the benefits that we have to pay. And as much as we would love to do that, this is money that we just don't have, and that we've been able to drive some significant deficiencies with our external provider at GRBS. So it is something that we always continue to look at, but it isn't something that we're considering at this point in time. Was there a question, Ms. Bornitsky?
Yes, I'm just wondering, have we run the numbers on how much it would cost to bring back custodial to in-house?
Monica, can you take that, or one of your team?
Yeah, Debbie can take it.
On the onset, the cost of retirement now is about 27.5% on every dollar. So if we brought somebody back, it would cost us 27.5% higher dollar for dollar, because we wouldn't have to pay, we don't pay retirement on GRBS or any other contracted staff. We only pay retirement as mandated by the Officer Retirement System on our payroll.
So do we know approximately how much that would be total? It's okay. I mean, you can give me the number later, but I'm just.
It's in excess of several $1 million.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So the next suggestion here was around security and monitoring the bathrooms to prevent drug use and selling. And right now at our high school level, we actually already have strong monitoring that occurs both from our SROs as well as from our other staff that's at there. And if people have concerns with this process where they believe that something like that is occurring, then we highly encourage you to talk to your administrators or to your the administration, so that we can address those issues. But we believe that we have that proper monitoring in place with people regularly inspecting those facilities. With respect to the next area here, teaching and learning, and this is the most important area where we had the largest number of different types of suggestions. The first one here is around curriculum and adding an IB program to the middle school. Monica, I believe that you updated us in board notes on some of the work that's happening here. Maybe you can just refresh us.
I'm going to ask Beth to help us with that question. And we did provide that answer in board notes, so she can talk through some of the feedback that we did receive from our academy leaders.
Yep. So we've had several discussions around this, and we're going to do an update in an upcoming board meeting, and actually talk about what the primary years program and the middle years program and what would have to be in place for those things to expand. So we'll have a lot more detail to come.
Thank you. And just for those in the community that are watching, this is already something that's on the dynamic plan. So our 5-year plan to take a look at those things as part of this process. The next one here is a program to reduce bullying, K through 12. We actually have very extensive programs on this through all the different age groups there. Monica, did you have anything you wanted to mention in this particular area? Because I know that we've had a lot of focus in this process.
Yes, we shared with that also in board notes that with our bullying program, we have character education programs throughout the district. As you see through your school improvement process highlights, when our schools come to share at the elementary, we are involved in various character education programs ranging from Leader in Me. We have PBIS as well. We have PBIS at the middle school levels, and then there is a variety of different programs that take place at the high school level. We K-12 are really invested in restorative practices, also adhering to the code of conduct, but making sure that we teach students how to take responsibility for their actions to repair any harm that was done, and then move forward within the code of conduct, sometimes with discipline if necessary and warranted. So we have multiple programs to reduce bullying. K-12, that is a situation that is a priority for us as a school community, and we continue to work to make sure that our schools are safe and welcoming and inclusive environments for all.
Thank you so much. And I know that that's very important to the board as well, so we appreciate that update. The next one is around the high school academies. Right now, we have a number of different academies at the high school, and the only one that ends up having any wait list is some of our STEM academies. And those STEM academies have got a relatively small number of students that ended up getting waitlisted, about 5 or 6. So our teams at the academies have done a great job over the last couple of years of better educating students as to what those academies are about, how they work, and we continue to look at ways that we can expand that academy. So for example, this last year, we just added the computer science program, which actually took some pressure off of the engineering program and brought more students into it and really expanded the academies overall. We don't have wait lists in programs like the IB Academy or the Arts Academy, and we always look for opportunities to do more work with those academies going forward. And then the curricular band program with the available financial resources. This is some feedback that we're taking forward to say, make sure that we can support that program and that there's not undue pressure on students in that process. So with respect to instruction, we've got different stories that we've had happen. This first one is around library books and fines, and we've had some people that want to have very punitive fines when they have library books, and other people that say that we need to remove the fines completely. This doesn't seem to be a big challenge for us overall, and it is something that, but it is something we'll pay attention to as we go forward. The next one around the next two around smaller class sizes at all grade levels and elementaries. So back to the subject of financing. It costs about $2 million a year for each one student reduction in class sizes. So it is absolutely something we would love to do as an administration, as a district. As we balance our resources and we look at the work that we're having to do, this is an area where we say, how can we get more resources to support this? We did reduce one student when we got the Wayne Risa millage because we had to make other changes before that process happened. But in order to make massive or meaningful reductions, we would have to have a massive and meaningful increase in the amount of our foundation allowance. So I'll get to the next two before I get to you, Kate. Fully funding the elementary libraries. This has absolutely been an area where we've really focused in providing the funding specifically on the media specialists and making sure that we have those media specialists in every school. And that's an area that we as the board and as the administration has made a priority to make sure that we provide those right resources to support that. And we've also pushed into the classrooms with resources to support them from a book level at classroom libraries from that Wayne Risa money. And then the last one is that physical education classes every day. A lot of this is a scheduling challenge. When we have all the requirements that we have from a state curriculum perspective, it is challenging for us to be able to open up and have physical education every day. Kate, did you have a question before I move on to the next page?
Yes, I'm wondering about the overdue fines. Do we take in a lot of money in overdue fines?
Monica, is that something you can?
No, the answer is no to that question.
That's what I was imagining. What do we do with the overdue fines? Are those allocated at the school level?
I do believe the idea is to keep the funds at the school level for replacement of books that have been lost. They will go through their activities accounts for the proper budgeting process.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Member Sidhu?
Yes, can someone explain the fully fund elementary libraries? Again, to echo Member Kehoe in saying that we applaud the district for having a certified media specialist at each building. But with regard to fully funding elementary libraries, is that for books, materials, maker stuff? Can you provide a little bit more specifics on that?
The feedback that we had in the actual questions were predominantly about materials at that level. And a minimum of, for example, one of the suggestions was a minimum of $2 per student with additional funds allocated to Title I schools. Those were some of the suggestions that have mostly around the materials level in supporting that. And we, when we discussed this at F&O, we talked about how we brought a lot of those materials back, or that we continue to fund the libraries, but we also brought in additional resources to the school level to provide classroom reading materials to help support that reading process, especially at the elementary level.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Okay. Moving on to teaching and learning, continued elimination of the TAG program. The TAG program is a program that we've not made expanded, but has been a great opportunity for us to draw students to the district and has made us a magnet, especially in bringing students back from the charter schools. While TAG is absolutely something that we want to continue to do, we have also very much focused as an administration and a board on providing more opportunities for differentiation in the homeschool. We know that not every student is a fit for the magnet TAG program, either because they excel in one area but not another, or they just want to stay in their homeschool. And by continuing to make those investments as part of our curriculum process in our overall programs at the homeschools, we make it so that those students have got more choices in their homeschool programs rather than having to needing to go to a magnet program in order to get those different options available. The next one that we have here is on the social emotional teachers and SEL training. This is absolutely something that we support. In last year's budget process, this was an area of significant investment. It was investment from the board, from the administration, and even through the transformation process. People looked at this and said, how do we bring more resources in to support our students? And I think that we'll see this same activity occur through this budget cycle going forward. The same thing with regards to teacher coaches per building. We have continued as we've rolled out our new curriculum to add more teacher coaches and supporting that curriculum process. The next one is around the CrossFit program for weightlifting at the high school at P-CCS. In this case, it wasn't that we were specifically addressing this particular class, but really identifying what the process is. If a student or a group of students have an interest in a particular class, these are areas that they can work with individual teachers or department heads and raise the interest for that process. As they see interest, oftentimes these things will become clubs and then core sports, and then can also get into the class process that are included there. Having Young 5 programs at every school, this is an area, again, where our potential expansions through the bond process would open up space to allow us to have those dedicated Young 5 programs in each class or in each elementary school to support this. And then the last one is around the afternoon or evening classes for students. For those of you that might have attended our session around transportation, we've talked really about some interesting programs around blended learning and how we might bring in other programs and processes to support those students that might want to attend or learn on different schedules. So I see a number of hands up. I think Ms. Dews, your hand was up first.
Yes, I just want to echo what you said about the social emotional support for teachers and SEL training and support for students. We've seen that need grow dramatically over the years, over the past month. So whatever we can do collectively to support or add additional funding to this, I am in full favor of that. So I just wanted to echo how important that is for our teachers and our students.
And then Ms. Borninski.
So I totally agree on the social emotional support for teachers. But I had a question about the Young Fives program. Do we currently have a waiting list for that? I see Kurt nodding.
You want to?
Yes, we do. We have about this year we have about 20 that are on a wait list.
Okay, so there is at least some demand for a little bit of expansion.
Yeah, we usually have demand each year, and we're able to open up sections based on our space availability. With our Young Fives, the class size is at 22. And so I think this year we were able to support 6 sections. Is that correct, Kurt? And
I think it's 5.
5 with 20 on a waiting list.
Okay, thank you.
And then Ms. McCoyne, you had a question? You're on mute.
Oh, it was around the provide afternoon or evening classes. Would that be in, like, say, lieu of going to school during the regular school day? Or are those additional enrichment classes we're talking about?
Give me a second. The particular suggestion was for students that that would actually start school at a different time. So this was for flexibility for students that needed to do work or an internship that was held or help out at home, and to support those students that would want to do that. So it was really a shifted schedule rather than a supplemental.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So the next item that we have here is around technology. Stop providing elementary students with take-home Chromebooks. I think given the situation that we're going on right now, that's not something that we're looking at doing. We think that the one-to-one device program is absolutely something that we're likely to want to expand, and I hope our community and parents see the opportunity and the value in having those one-to-one devices. So the next area is around transportation. Buying more buses and hiring more drivers to allow later start times. This is absolutely something, as we work through the process on start times, would be something that we might be able to consider as part of that process. The next one here is around stopping the contracting the transportation services and transport every student during the winter. So this is a twofold thing. One is to bring transportation back in-house. This is, again, the same challenge that we have with GRBS. It has been more efficient for us to outsource this process than the same situation with GRBS and our custodial services. It is more efficient for us to outsource our transportation services. It is not something that we would prefer to do. We'd love to have all of those be our employees, but the economics don't really allow that. The same thing with respect to transporting every student during the winter. We would have to buy additional buses just for winter transportation, and that would dramatically increase the budget in terms of what we're doing and not really support the things that we need to do in the classroom. This next one here around tag students being transported directly to Gallimore and restarting the shuttle program. The shuttle program is actually a struggle for us because it doesn't provide the necessary educational minutes for those students. So the process that we do to get those tag students directly to Gallimore, make sure that we have the necessary educational minutes for those students, and is provided a more direct transportation, especially for those 3rd and 4th grade students. Same thing with the tag program transportation. We do that from an equity perspective to make sure that we support all of those students within the district. It is very difficult for us to consider free transportation for School of Choice students. We welcome School of Choice students, people that want to come to P-CCS. We think we've got a great way to be able to educate all students, but from an equity perspective, we need to make sure that we only support those students that live within our district boundaries. And lastly, eliminating transportation. That is something that certainly would save some money, but it is an equity issue. We want to make sure that all students can get to school, not just those that somebody can drive there in the process. Kate, you've got a question?
I just thought it was interesting that we have quite a few suggestions for sort of expanding transportation, but then we have one for eliminating transportation altogether.
It is a substantial cost. And when we look at charters don't provide transportation, but from an equity perspective, we think that that's not only the fair and right thing to do to make sure that all students can get to school, but also the thing that helps provide us a competitive differentiation. So, you know, it is always interesting when we see these diametrically opposed suggestions that come through.
Yes, and when we were talking about the park, especially, even though there's a lot of kids and parents who still choose to drive, having the buses does cut down on the traffic situation there.
Oh my goodness, the traffic jams if everybody was being dropped off. Okay, so the next one here is providing information regarding adoption and safe delivery to 8th grade students. This is an area that is challenging for us because the educational programs that we have around sex ed are strictly mandated by the state. That curriculum is not something that we're really allowed to deviate from, and in fact, it's highly mandated as part of that process. We always look for opportunities to make sure that we can provide the right information to students as part of these activities, but that curriculum is mandated from the state. And the last question that we have here is around the opening our borders to school of choice. We actually have a pretty robust school of choice program right now. So that school of choice program, we reauthorize each and every year. We generally open up about 250 open seats. These are seats that would be in the school district that would not be filled with our students normally. So it's only those excess seats as a way to bring in additional revenue and to support those people that want to come to P-CCS for the fantastic education that we provide. But at this point, generally, we never fill those seats. We're generally a little bit over 200 seats that actually get filled in that process. So we have that, we think, the right size for that school of choice program in order to bring students in and make sure that they're successful as part of the process. So at that point, those are all the suggestions. You know, we've provided that feedback both at F&O as well as through this process. If anybody has any additional questions or discussions or feedback for the administration, we'd welcome those discussions now. Okay, if that's it, then I'll turn it back over to you, Anupam.
Thank you. I really appreciate having the detailed overview of this budget community forum overview and having you walk us through each of the items. It was very helpful. And I think we kind of gave our comments and questions along the way. So I appreciated that opportunity. Yes, go ahead, Member.
I just want to say one thing. I want to thank the community for those people that work in our schools, those people that go to our schools, those people that live in our community, and those parents that are part of the process that participated. These suggestions are incredibly helpful for us as we go through the budgeting process, and we always welcome that feedback. If you ever want to provide those things in an informal process, you certainly can reach out to us and any of the board members, but this is the best time to get that feedback as we go through the budgeting and transformation activity. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Well said. All right, we will move on to letter F, follow-up board questions. And I'm looking at our last meeting notes. The outstanding items were around the third grade reading legislation, and given that the third grade reading legislation is not required this year, it's not going to go forward. So I'm wondering if we can take that item off of our board follow-up questions.
That was going to be a request of ours as well, because the 9 students would not have that ability for this school year. And then we need to see about what will happen next school year in terms of, I think, kind of changes, you know, just the simple way that we're receiving instruction could also be a factor that would play into that.
Member Kehoe?
So I think our intention with that was to really understand the kind of progress that those students were making, and based upon the NWEA tests. I can't remember what were the cycles that we did for NWEA. When did we do? I know we do, I think, 3 per year. And what are the dates for those?
Beth, do you have?
Yeah, the one that would give the most data would be the end of the year cycle, and obviously that's kind of a little at the wayside right now. But the interim ones were closing it in March, so you know, I'll look to see if we can get any data on those kids, on those young people. But again, you won't see the longitudinal data that we're really looking for because of the disruption of their school environment.
Okay, it would be useful for, I know that we're not going to do it again this year, but I think as a data point for us, it would be nice to know what happened to those 9 students in the midpoint of the year. I know that it's not a fair characterization, but if you know, what I'm personally curious about is whether those students have caught up, that we see students mature at different rates and grow at different times. So it'd be useful to know what happens to those 9 at the midpoint of the year.
Yep, and we'll see if they did do a midpoint one, because that is an optional one. We do a fall one and a spring one required. So as I pull it, I'll see if we do have any data for the midpoint with those young people.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, we'll leave that on as an outstanding item, and we'll have Monica and Beth follow up on that. And I see Member Berninski's hand.
Yes, I too just want to make sure we don't lose sight of, the students that are not growing like we would like in reading. And so I totally understand that the third grade reading law has been, sort of, it's not in effect for this year because of the situation. And we don't know what the beginning of, the next school year is going to look like either. But I too want to make sure that the board and administration don't lose track of what's happening with this.
Okay, thank you. And the next item that is a follow-up board question is information about the AP Physics course and brought back to SPA. And Beth, remind me if we talked about that at the last SPA meeting, or is that put on for next one?
No, we did talk about AP, the physics course, and I know there was also some follow-up in board notes about that. So
Okay,
I'd have to go back and look at it, but I believe the question was answered, but if not, we can bring it back around.
I have
Okay.
noted as answered.
okay, great. We'll make sure that we circle back into our board notes. And the next one I have is any board member that would like to review the proposed P-CCS Emergency Operations Plan is encouraged to contact the superintendent and review it. And thank you, Superintendent Merritt, for giving us that opportunity. And I know a number of board members did go through that and provided feedback.
Yes, thank you.
Those are the three outstanding items from the last meeting. What I caught from this meeting was Member Burdinsky's question for the cost of custodial staff. I know we got a rough estimate from Debbie. Kate, would you like a cost put out for the custodial staff that was unionized versus contracted services?
Just a ballpark figure for what it would cost to bring custodial back in-house.
Okay.
If possible. And I also wanted to say thank you for sharing the emergency operations plan. I appreciated being able to take a glance at it.
Thank you, and we appreciate your feedback.
And I did not pick up on any other questions that came up during this meeting. So if I missed anything, would someone please remind me now? Okay, so we will add that question on for our next board meeting and get some follow-up information for Member Burdinsky's question. Okay, at this point, we are at adjournment. I am looking for a motion to adjourn.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting today.
Okay, a motion was made by Member Brooks and Member Kehoe.
Madam President, I second the motion to adjourn.
Thank you. And motion was seconded by Member Kehoe. We are adjourned at 8:47. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful evening. Please continue to stay safe and healthy, and we look forward to seeing you again virtually soon.
You also.